Hello, everybody. My name is Benjamin Bloom, and I have just Norwich nil, Southampton 3. Important game in the bottom half of the Premier League as we come back and Southampton really outclassing Norwich in the second half. 10 attempts for the Saints, who go through and win this one quite easily in the end after being on top for a lot of the first half. Big defeat for Norwich. The narrative around them had been that they needed a kickstart, they needed to win their home games, and they have immediately at the first chance had a really bad performance, frankly, and given those people, I think 5 points above them, the chance to pull away in the remainder of this Premier League weekend. Obviously, this is the third part of the coverage for this. We did the pre-match stream, we did the half-time. So I'll have a quick look at the first half, but we'll mainly focus on the second half events. As I said in the half-time video, the kind of big story with Norwich going into this game was the change of system, and Dermot playing up front with Pukki. We're more used to Daniel Farke playing a 4-2-3-1 and Pukki having a 10 and wide players around him rather than a forward with him. We questioned in the first half that it didn't really work and that Dermot looked off it, and was Farke going to change in the second half? He didn't, and he paid for it. Let's just talk about that first half, because if we can wind back, Norwich were actually pretty good for the first, probably the first 8-9 minutes of this game. They were on top, some attacking set plays, an early shot from McLean, and a breakaway that Dermot didn't take advantage of when Pukki played him in the box. Southampton then got the snap of their press right. They got their start position when Norwich were playing out from the back right, and really from around 17 up to about 40, Southampton were on top with the territory. And had the biggest chance of the first half when Stevens rubbed Cantwell. He stepped up 3-on-3, had Obafemi to his right, Ings to his left. He played in Ings, who hit the crossbar, not the clinical finishing that we were going to see later in the second half. So we get to half time. As I say, Southampton on top, but no massively high quality chances despite Saints hitting the bar. Lots of chat here at half time about how and when do Norwich change to seemingly stop this getting any worse. It didn't look like it was going to get any better with the system they were playing. Would he give Dermot up until 55, 60 minutes? It turns out that it was pretty quickly too late for Norwich, because straight away into the second half, 48 minutes, and Saints take the lead. Danny Ings with his 16th goal of the season. It's a bit of a mess, isn't it? They didn't have to do too much to score this. It's a throw-in down the left-hand side, and you can see all the Norwich players, first of all, get drawn too far back, and then all get drawn in towards the ball. The first one bounces, the second one doesn't get cleared. They're all getting suckered in. And then it's Armstrong who just manages to get there first. We're in the box now, so you can't dive in. He just pokes it to Ings. And all of a sudden, from one throw, boof, it's all completely opened up for Ings, who I don't know how many, I haven't looked at the Premier League top scorers charts, but there can't be many players with many more goals than him. It's moving across the goal. It's on his right foot. He opens his body. He doesn't need to take a touch. He just lashes it into the corner. It's a really good finish. But when you look at how the goal is crafted, so to speak, they don't have to do a lot to score it. Throwing down the line, non-clearances, and it's all completely opened up. They just all get suckered in around the ball, which is going to be a theme for the next goal as well. So Saints go 1-0 up after 48. And when you're looking at these kind of tactical, strategic things on a knife edge, and it's the case of, do I make the change or do I keep it going? As soon as that goal goes in, well, you're really hamstrung then, aren't you? Because are you then going to make the change straight after, or are you going to stay stubborn and stick with what you're doing? And it really didn't work out. Norwich heads drop, Saints chins raise here, and they really dominate now for pretty much the whole rest of the game. 51, speedy attack down the right here, switched across to Redmond, who, as in the first half, checks inside and gets his shot blocked. And then it's a bang-bang double sucker punch, 53 minutes, and it's 2-0 Saints. And it's game over, really, isn't it? Within 8 minutes of coming back out from half-time, no changes in shape or personnel from Norwich, and the game has gone. This is clinical again from halfway. Redmond breaks forward, he accelerates away into that hole between the Norwich midfield and the defence, which seemed to get bigger and bigger as the match went on. Lots of movement ahead of him. He managed to feed it to Ings. Ings is on the move. Redmond keeps moving. Armstrong's outside him. Ings' experience obviously plays the right pass. Off it goes to Armstrong. He takes a touch inside closer. And then again, it's players getting sucked into the ball. It's poor from Tribal had a horrible second half, didn't he? Poor from Tribal and Lewis, who both close him down, but then both put him off. So you have two players approaching the attacking player, and neither of them managed to even get any kind of, attempted tackle in. Armstrong has it on the edge of the box, onto the left foot. He kind of cuts it low into the corner. And again, Krul has absolutely no chance. Incisive breakaway, but again, poor defending from Norwich. And it's 2-0. We can talk about hindsight, or we can rewind and you can go and watch the halftime video where we all suggested in the comments that Farke will probably need to change his shape. He didn't do it, and he paid. So not even any hindsight there, because we all knew what was going to happen, didn't we? 55, Lewis crossed to the near post, gives McCarthy a bit of trouble. He spills it, but Pukki can't sweep up. Pukki's head dropped a little bit. Bertrand shoots the first of about 4 shots he's going to have in the second half. Remember, 10 attempts from Southampton in this second half. Here's Cantwell from Bednarek's mistake, slides Pukki in behind on the right. Good recovery here. And again, Norwich are going to manage to concede a chance from an attacking corner here. Just shows how the strategy of Saints counter-attacking really worked well today. Big breakaway over Femi is 1v1 with the centre halves. He's attacking. Fairly good defending from the Norwich player who knew Obafemi didn't want to go on his left foot. Armstrong comes in over his shoulder. In the end, it gets blocked out. Ward-Prowse then hits the shot, and I think it's Aaron's possibly. Could be wrong on that one. Correct me in the comments. Clears it off the line. Chance after chance, and they really, really did miss a fair few as well. Saints. Norwich do get the one chance, and you would expect Pukki to put this away. Just not happening for Norwich or for Pukki today. Indeed, poor from Valerie. Lots of mistakes in this second half. Should we call it rustiness? Should we call it tiredness? Should we call it lack of match sharpness? Valerie just has to let this run out for a Norwich throw, and he kind of kicks it back into play. Norwich managed to switch it to Pukki in the box. Great first touch, and anyone who's watched any of Norwich over the last 2 years would now be expecting Teemu Pukki with his right foot to just stick this in the corner like he's done nearly 50 times now, I guess. And it's blocked. He doesn't get the finish off. Symptomatic of Norwich's day. Asymptomatic would be the right word at the moment, wouldn't it? Even though out of context that doesn't make any sense, but I thought I'd say it anyway. Obafemi into the box now. More openings. He's blocked. Good feet though. Redmond into Armstrong's side foot. Here he finds the corner. Good save by Krul. Krul actually played quite well in this game. Didn't have much chance with any of the goals. Ings goes in late on Buendia and gets a yellow here. Here comes Obafemi in behind again on 75. Easy pass. He just needs to shape this across the front of the defender for Ings for a tap in. And again, really could have been 4-5, 6-0 this game in the end, couldn't it? But it is going to be 3-0 on 78, and it's just too easy. Really, really easy for Saints to score this goal. Obafemi's the one who carries it this time. I've had a pop at him on this video for making bad decisions a couple of times. He makes the right decision here. He plays it to Redmond, and Ben Godfrey's very highly rated as a defender. But how bad is this? Redmond stands him up, and he just leaves him completely flat-footed. It's a simple sidestep as well. There's no trick. There's no big change of pace, but it's so poor from Godfrey. You cannot, in this one-on-one position, the minimum is make it hard for the attacker to have a shot. Close him down, dive in. I know you're in the box, but really poor from Godfrey, who's very highly rated. But I guess the Norwich heads are gone. Redmond basically just walks past him into the box. As I said, no challenge, no heat on Redmond, and he just manages to roll it in the corner. No chance for Krul. Redmond, the ex-Norwich player, makes it 3-0. Big margin now, big defeat. Poor performance by Norwich in the second half. Excellent from Saints. Farker gets his star guys out now. Pukki and Buendia both immediately substituted at 3-0. Ida and Duda come in there. And now we start to get this stuff which is going to annoy fans, where we get this international friendly. And players have really got to work on keeping the intensity up when we're having 2 players off, 2 players on, 2 players off, 2 players on. We don't want to see games just completely stop at 80 minutes, because I've seen 2 games already and it's happened in both of them. So then Smallbone, and Adams, nice little puffy afro hairstyle from Adams over lockdown. Like the look of that. Has grown out for Obafemi and Armstrong. Smallbone gets blocked. He actually has a couple of shots in this small cameo. Teller comes on for Ings. The Sky pundits very impressed with Ings. I suppose so was I really. Smallbone, another long range. And Martin, a youngster for Norwich, comes in for Dermich. Is that Daniel Farker saying to Dermich, look, mate, I gave you a whole 88, 89 minutes and you couldn't do it. That was your chance. You're out of the team now. Cannot see him sticking with him going forward. Walker Peters for Valerie on 90. Bufal for Redmond, just running the clock down here. Aaron's cuts a frustrated figure. He's booked for a late one on Teller. At the end, Ward-Prowse has a free kick that Krul saves. So many attempts here. Teller rolls one easily for Krul to gather, and the game ends 3-0, reasonably close, as I said, in the first half, although Saints had the territory, hit the bar. But the second half, a completely different story. With hindsight, and again, I'll point you back to our video we made here with the commenters at half-time. We knew he needed to change that shape at half-time. I think most Norwich fans knew it. I guess, in deference to Daniel Farker, if they've worked Norwich on a system with 2 up front or narrow midfield, 4-1-3-2, whatever you want to call it, trying to get the 2 forwards on for weeks and weeks and weeks. We complain at managers for tearing it up after 45 minutes, but it did need some kind of tweak. It was fairly obvious, and the counter-attacking style and the big gap. Maybe with a 4-2-3-1, there would have been more of a shielding. Maybe things just a little bit more compact in midfield would have helped. But the space that Saints had in the second half was huge. Good finishing from Ings, good finishing from Armstrong, Redmond. But, you know, a muggy throw-in for the first goal and not cleared. 2 players closing and getting each other's way for the second, and just abject poor attempt at a tackle from Godfrey for the third. So although there is clinical finishing, there was bad defending as well. Let's have a look at some of the comments. I know we've got plenty of Norwich fans on the channel here watching. Looks like we've got plenty of comments to read through. Get yours in as well. A couple of mean ones here that we will put up, but scroll down. Mike says, that's Norwich down. I think we're going to get this narrative. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that, Mike, but let's have a look at the results. I will check the table as we go. If that gap, I mean, you're not really, when you're talking about relegation, you're not really looking at the gap to the next team up, as I press all the wrong buttons on here. You're looking at the gap to third bottom, and 21-27. I don't think that's Norwich down, no, because you're relying on 3 teams, Bournemouth, Watford and West Ham, all putting points on the board. But if any one of those teams wins tomorrow, it gets harder and harder. Bailey says, great finishing by Southampton. I agree with you, Bailey, but there's a caveat before each of those good finishes that I have mentioned. Charlie asks, are Norwich down now? I don't think so, as I've said. You know, there is still a chance. And remember, I know we've seen some weirdness in the Championship with Wigan, Luton and Barnsley all starting to win at the same time. Teams down the bottom don't all of a sudden, you know, just start sticking, you know, 2 or 3 of them sticking 3 points on per weekend. You're lucky if one of the bottom 6 hits 3 points each weekend a lot of the time. Okay, let me rephrase that. One of the bottom 4 for sure. So Possibly not yet, but any more performances like that, and yes, they're going to be down very quickly. Jaggy says, "What have I just witnessed?" You've witnessed a collapse. Oliver says he could see that coming, and Oliver, fair enough, was here at half time and did predict that. So, D-Jam, great YouTuber, subscribe to his channel. He says, "Can't believe how slow and gutless that was from us, mate. Such little effort in the second half. We just gave up." I know exactly where you're coming from. I don't think footballers ever give up. I do think they lose it in games, though, and you could see, you know, I don't even think if it had been the bish bash bosh of 2 quick goals, I don't think it would have been that much different. But that really killed it. And the space in that second half on the counter-attacks was massive, wasn't it? Jack Barham says, "Norwich forgot how to defend. Getting drawn to the ball like underage football, definitely true of the first 2 goals." Alex says, "Can't believe how poor Norwich were." I agree. In the second half, he adds, way too narrow defensively. They just got suckered in, didn't they? When those wide Saints forwards, Redmond on the one side and Armstrong on the other, came inwards, yes, they did get way too narrow. Sorry, Norwich fans, not much love here for Norwich in the chat. I can understand it. Much too naive playing out from the back. Yes, I will defend Norwich because they did it beautifully in the Championship, and they've got to stick to that principle. They can't all of a sudden start playing the channels and, you know, expect Pookie to run. But yeah, I do agree. Oliver says, "I see a lot of similarities between 18-19 Huddersfield in Norwich, low on confidence and qualities." Dalton, Mexico. Is he one of the Beatles? Who are you talking about? Me? I need to straighten my hair to look like George Harrison. Very unfortunate with the run of the ball, which set up Ings, crumbled from there. Yes, they were, weren't they? But come on, it's a defensive throw-in just thrown down the line. Don't all get suckered in. Hold your shape, hold your line, trust your defenders. But yes, not really good at all. Michael, who will say thank you for the super chat earlier. You can donate to the channel by hitting super chat. Going to be out of a job in September, as I've plugged many times. So we're trying to make this more of a financial pursuit for me. Norwich look like they've gone now. Very poor second half from then. Southampton good. Danny Ings, yet again, I think we all agree with that. Harry says Norwich were poor. I think we all agree with that. Alistair asks, "Do I agree Danny Ings will go to a better team?" How old is he? I don't know. You just pay through the nose for English players, don't you? I don't know who he would go to, because in the Premier League you have this thing of the top 6 and then everyone else. And if it's not the top 6, then who is it? We'll go back to Harry's comment here. Do I think Norwich will be able to go straight back up if they go down? Yes, I do. That will rely on them keeping 3 or 4 out of Farker, Webber, Buendia, Pookie and Aarons. If they lose more than 2 of those, there might be some trouble. And he adds Ings should go to the Euros next year. Ashley says he thinks that's good night for Norwich now. Not even a glimmer of hope in that performance. I always try and see both sides. I'm not being awkward. Obviously, Ashley's right. Glimmer of hope. First 6 minutes, they did all right. But come on, I'm clutching at straws there, aren't I? Sandra joins the pity party here. Says Norwich are going down. Michael, looked like Norwich didn't have enough leaders on the pitch. Heads dropped too quickly. Yes, it did. Am I covering the Fulham game tomorrow? Yes, I am. I'm thinking about possibly moving the pre-match back 15 minutes though, so it may be 12 rather than 12:15. Charlie says man of the match, Redmond. Yeah, possibly Redmond, Armstrong or Ings. They're all over Ings on the TV, weren't they? All I will say about Redmond's performance is just decision making on a couple of occasions, cutting inside and getting blocked off. But I never begrudge a wide player trying to get a cross or a shot off when they get the ball, because wide players can be very frustrated and spend 15, 20 minutes without the ball. So same with strikers. I never begrudge them having a go, but some of the decision making was a little bit of the struggle. Hip to the game says, without the fans to give them the small boost, Norwich don't have a prayer. Mark says, typical Norwich. Jack, Ings, best striker in the Premier League, considering Other strikers with same goals have better players that can assist them better. There's probably, if you can come up with some metric, Jack, that measures quality of team and amount of chances provided, probably this season he's up there, isn't he, Ings? Absolutely. Big Mally says, hard to think Norwich were destroying teams last season. I know it was Championship, but they still had to do it. Yes, it is. But you have to tweak your system in the Premier League, else you will get some absolute hide-ins, and that step up in quality is huge, and they did not spend, did they? Yeah, they're talking about Mick McCarthy managing Norwich. Don't think that will happen. Stacey says, Norwich seemed to lose interest after the initial flurry, possibly the 2 relegation places left to avoid. Dale says, fitness levels in the second half. Possibly. Was it fitness or was it psychological? Because I agree with everyone that says the heads drop. Sometimes you can be running and you find you're doing more running than the other team, but if it's not focused, then you're screwed, aren't you? D-Jam says, I understand the experiment to try 2 up top, but it was clear at half-time it wasn't working. Pookie works better with wingers around him. Second half was so flat. Without sounding wise after the event, we did say that at half-time. Here, Rico says, played Dumic, number 10, for God's sake. Yes, it didn't work, did it? Jim says, at least Delia can get sloshed on one. Delia is not at the game, remember, in solidarity with the fans. Tim says, David Luiz to Norwich. I mean, fit in well on today's showing, wouldn't he? Aaron's, Lewis and Cantwell are good enough mid-lower tier Premier League side, in my opinion. Aaron's definitely not sure about Lewis yet in terms of a mid-table Premier League team. Very good player. Cantwell's had this one excellent season. Will someone take a gamble? I've certainly done it at Premier League level. Michael still says, there's plenty of wine in the bottle. Yeah, there was so much attacking in that second half. I spent most of the time typing. So Rico said, Norwich players should give their wages in for that one. You cannot turn up to a relegation fight and look disinterested and lazy. Dreadful for me. Leeds badge in there. So take that with what you will, Norwich fans. Not my views, Rico, the Leeds fans there. Harry asks, am I doing Blues v West Brom? We'll see what's happening tomorrow. It's going to be a little bit tight. As you can see, we're 8:15 now, and United and Spurs will be kicking. It's hard. They're putting these 2 games to couple more to do. Paul says, as a Blaze fan, I always thought Norwich would struggle with their defence. Paul's right, because even in the Championship, Norwich they just spent the whole game attacking, didn't they? And when you look at it, really, Aaron's, Lewis and Godfrey, between them, have not played, 2 full seasons of football, have they? So it was always going to be a struggle. And it was going around a WhatsApp group I'm in. Would Godfrey play if Hanley and Closer and Zimmerman were fit all the time? Would he start every game? I don't know. He's been great for Norwich, but there you go. Right, that should just about do us for the post-match live stream. Norwich 0, Southampton 3. Quick one from Nick there. Am I still doing Bloom and Reeves? Yes, and we'll get Jack's take on this game. I'm sure he's live at the moment on his channel, probably pretty depressed at that, I would have thought, and rightly so. Rico adds, Godfrey not a Premier League player yet at all. I'm glad he put the yet in there. I think he can definitely do it, can't he? But in that open team with that limited experience, it's tricky, especially in games like that. So the story of the game today was a real second half collapse from Norwich. Daniel Farke trying a different system, it not working. He did not change it. And Ings, Redmond, Armstrong and co, the wide players and the forwards, really punished an awful Norwich collapse in the second half, and possibly a nail in the coffin of Norwich and their Premier League status. Maybe not the definitive nail in Norwich coffin yet. Definitely a nice boost for Southampton staying up. They look far enough away by now. Quick load of plugs. You've seen across the bottom there the whole time. It says subscribe on Patreon, patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom. All of the content will be ad-free on there. I'll pop it in there just afterwards. You can download it to your device and watch it in your own time. Obviously, if you're here in real time as well, you can comment as we go. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're here for the first time, if you're a Saints fan or a Norwich fan, please subscribe. We'll do more and more of this through the lockdown. So hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications. Get your comments in after the effect. You can click live chat and see what was going on real time as I was filming this straight after this game finished. And yeah, just a quick reiterating, patreon.com, going to be out of work in September, so trying my best to make this dream of talking about football part of my living, and you can subscribe over there, patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom. Thank you, everybody, for watching. The plan is a championship preview, maybe about 10 tomorrow morning, then we'll do Fulham Brentford. That will likely be it for the day. A lot of people have been asking about Hull Charlton, West Brom, Birmingham. We'll see how things pan out. Big thank you to everybody joining in on the chat, everybody who has subscribed on Patreon, and particularly Michael with the super chat earlier. Thank you for that donation. Really helps alongside the ad revenue and various other things going on, trying to pursue making this more than a hobby. Quick one more from Steve, who's in New Zealand. Not surprised by the result of Southampton, look to be on the rise. Right, would love to see some of you guys in the morning for the championship preview, and we'll do exactly the same again tomorrow, pre-halftime and after the game for Fulham versus Brentford. Big game at the top of the championship. Will one of those teams be swapping places with one of these two teams that played today? Possibly. Probably. Get your comments in. See you all tomorrow. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your support. Get yourself over to Patreon, Twitter and Instagram as well. And I will see you soon. Over and out.